In today's episode of the Hotelier Huddle, I had a delightful, inspiring chat with one of my favorite people, Tracy Martin, who is the founder of The Wisdom Well. We spoke about several fascinating topics, including her terrific advice for hoteliers who may be dreaming of going solo. We spoke about our gratitude for hotel general managers out there and the types of strengths it takes to be successful in our industry. I hope you enjoyed the discussion as much as I did. Tracy Martin, thank you so much for joining the Hotelier Huddle. I'm so thrilled to talk to you today. I mean, I'm thrilled to talk to you anytime, Tracy Martin.
Shannon, likewise.
Full disclosure to listeners and tuners in of the podcast, but I've had the joy and benefit of working with you, I think, in a couple of companies, in a couple of different jobs, and you even hired me. You've been my client and my colleague. But just to make sure I get it right, I'm just going to read through your CV. So, Global Sales Manager, Mantis Private Luxury Safari Properties in South Africa. Director of Luxury Sales and Marketing, Mervac, which then became Accor Hotels, New Zealand, Fiji, and French Polynesia. What is that, like 2/3 of Earth or something? National Director, Sales and Marketing, EVT Hotels. And you and I worked together there for a bit as well. And that was mostly New Zealand. Maybe you'll correct me. And then you recently became founder and director of the Wisdom Well Consulting Agency. And I'm really looking forward to talking to you about that, especially for people in the tribe, in the hotel industry that might be aspiring to take the leap and do what you did. Wow.
Yes. Well,
so
hotels will do that to you,
that's your
right?
career journey so far, if I've got that right. Yeah.
Well, actually, to be fair, my journey in hotels started before Mantis Collection, but I actually couldn't fit it all on the CV. So, I've literally worked in hotels my entire adult life. And like most people in the industry, I fell into it by complete mistake. And who knew? I just absolutely loved it, because you have to be a special kind of person to work in this industry. It's very unforgiving, right? So,
yes, it's such a common thing. I tripped and fell over in the hotel industry, and I just never got up.
And I just, exactly. Well, mine wasn't quite as elaborate as that, my start, but no, I fell into it and have just loved it ever since. Absolutely love it.
And it's loved you right back, from what I can tell.
Yes, but it's been a very it's a symbiotic relationship, right? It's like anything in life. What you put in is what you get out.
So true, so true. Yeah. So you went from safari lodges in South Africa to luxury resorts in French Polynesia and New Zealand. Do you pack differently for client visits, or does everything just mosquito net and sunscreen, and that covers everything?
Well, mosquito net and sunscreen are in my DNA, coming from Africa, but I don't pack anything additionally for client meetings, because I'm a lot already. So I'll just arrive with my sterling personality and let that do the rest. But no, like, I guess people do business with people they know, they like, and they trust. So the more you're engaging and the more integrity and trust you instill with a client, the better. But no, my mosquito net and sunscreen is there all the time.
True that. So in your progression from director of luxury sales with Accor Hotels and EVT Hotels to then founding the Wisdom Well, was that a case of, okay, I've done everything I want to do here, I'm now going to bottle all that up and sell it back to the industry?
I wish it was that easy. I guess after working, I've worked for global giants as well as family-owned businesses.
Yep.
Independent hotels to, smaller chains, managed properties and owned hotels. And I've worked in multiple countries. So it just seemed right that to take those learnings from and the best practice that I've gained from all those different aspects of hospitality and roll it
Yes.
into a beautiful wisdom ball and offer that to clients that I now get to choose to work with, actually.
So that's a luxury in and of itself, isn't it?
It absolutely is.
It is.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And, you do literally get to choose who you work with. In the
Yes.
beginning, not so much. You've got to be, you're open to every opportunity. But, I guess the better your reputation, the easier it is to get work. And eventually
Yes.
you're in the fortunate position to be able to pick and choose which brands or which hotels or which owners you'd like to work with.
Absolutely right. And it is something you and I have in common is that, since I started Snap Consulting,
Mm.
I registered my business on New Year's Day, 2015. And in the decade, oh, that's terrifying. It has been a decade. The only work that I've ever gotten as a consultant or a
Yeah.
trainer or any of the work I do is through people that know me and they get me and they know what I do and they know what I don't do. And if they're into that, that's awesome. Come be my client. And if they're not, they don't call and that's okay. And it is,
Yeah.
to your point, a luxury of being able to select who we work with. But, it did take, a few decades to work up to that point. So,
Of course.
to your point about reputation and,
Yes.
people who know us and know what skills
Yeah.
and what we bring to the table and how we collaborate. That's what makes it work, I think, right?
Correct. And I think, I always say to the younger ones that are up and coming, the future leaders of the industry, that the only
Yes.
thing you take with you through your career is your integrity. You can change
Yes.
companies, you'll get a new client base, whatever, but your integrity or your professional integrity is the only thing and the most important thing that you take with you. And Shannon, to your point, a decade, congratulations, by the way. The fact that people, you've never had to advertise, and neither have
Haven't.
I.
Not
Only
once.
in my
No.
brief 6 months, it's testament, I guess, to, that professional integrity. And yes, but it did take a good few decades to get here, that's for sure.
Yes.
Mm.
Yes. So, you and I in our hotel days and now even in our consulting days,
Yeah.
um, have had to be yield managers and revenue managers in how we consult with hotels, but also yield managing our own consulting businesses. So
Yes. Yeah.
when I think about that and, on that, you would have sold everything from safari experiences to overwater bungalows.
Mm.
What's more difficult from a sales perspective? Convincing someone to sleep under a canvas with lions nearby or selling a $2,000 per night room floating precariously over water?
Oh, they're both difficult.
Yes.
But I guess the niche from a sales perspective is to marry the client's wants with the product that you are offering, right?
And there it is. And
Then,
there
of
it
course,
is.
100%. And then, of course, I see again a lot of younger salespeople who are they're just going through the features of the property. 24-hour room service. We've got a beautiful restaurant. That's what people expect in a luxury
Or they have a
environment.
script memorized, which doesn't
Exactly.
work.
They forget that each sale and each pitch has to be, tailored to what the client's looking for. And you should actually
Yes.
be presenting the benefits, not the features. So, what I can tell you though was both those overwater bungalows and the beautiful luxury tented camps in safari are usually on people's bucket list trips. So they're
Yes. Right.
happy,
Right.
they're happy to spend money on them. But I've also
Yeah. And
worked
they're
in
not price obsessed. It's about the experience and they're focused
correct,
on what am I going to get out of this? How is this going to enrich my life? Not how much is it going to
correct.
empty my bank account?
It's completely experience related. And believe it or not, every single guest booking a property, whether it's a corporate traveler or and where that property is located. It can be CBD, or it can be, as exquisite as a private safari camp. But every traveler is looking for an experience, even a corporate
Yes.
traveler, right? So it's about marrying their needs and their wants with the right budget.
Well, indeed. And I think a lot of folks forget that um, uh, primarily, when we think about being on safari or in an overwater bungalow or even, a ski experience in Queenstown, New Zealand, most people think that's only leisure or families or people with a lot of money, but it is corporate business as well for incentives and banking and finance and insurance. And they send a lot of
Absolutely.
corporate retreats and business to those sorts of destinations, right? So
Yes,
from a
exactly
market
right.
segmentation perspective, that's always really fascinating to me. And I think it's not well known for people that are new at the game.
No, it is fascinating. And, to your yielding comment, I guess the hardest thing for a salesperson is when you get that piece of business over the line and you're so excited and you go charging into the GM and the revenue manager, and the revenue manager's like, that's not the type of business we're looking for at this time of year. So, back to the
Oh,
drawing board and upselling either the rate or going to find new business. But
crushed. Hmm.
it is crushing, but that's what makes it so addictive as well, is that there's no day that is the same. There's no routine whatsoever, and every client is different. So it can get exhausting as well, because,
Yeah.
you're always having to find another way of doing it. But that's why I said at the beginning, we are special people who work in this industry. Mm.
Yes, the hotelier tribe is a very specific species, aren't we?
Yes, resilience, adaptability.
So, when I think about how you have worked over the years with revenue managers, and
Yeah.
I've been present for some of the very spirited debates that you and I have both been in with sales and revenue and GMs about exactly what you just described about saying no to certain segments
Yeah.
or trying to go out and find other segments. Um, as you've evolved through that process from being a global sales manager and then in national director roles, having some of those conversations, did that change in scope? I don't know, did it ever feel like, going from steering a speedboat to, being at the captain at the helm of a cruise ship? I'm just wondering what that trajectory was like in
Yeah.
your experience.
It's all relative though, isn't it? Right? When you're in
Yeah.
that global sales position, your responsibilities are very different and your accountability. But when you get to, the national, those bigger roles where kind of the buck stops with you, from a
Yes.
commercial perspective, and you've got a large team reporting into you. It's relative because it's relates to that particular position. But I
Yes.
can tell you that a very, very wise general manager once said to me that the only way to progress your business is through robust conversations, because in this particular role, the revenue manager and I used to get very debated cups of coffee.
Uh-huh.
And he was a charming gentleman. And I mean that because he was one of those who he didn't understand the sales process, but he was prepared to listen and
That's the
take on
best
board.
kind.
Yes, take on board what
So
you were
important.
saying.
It's important and it's rare.
It is very rare because,
Mm.
like yourself, worked with many people over the decades. And so, yes, this particular gentleman always used to say to me, like there's no, if it's all kumbaya, it's status quo. There's no growth. But you've got to have robust conversations in order to grow and to grow the business. So, yes, I think steering a ship is or captaining a ship is a great analogy. The responsibility is much greater, but then, of course, so are things like your paycheck, right? So it is
Yes.
all relative. And I guess the trajectory is an interesting one, because in this industry being dynamic, it's not always on a straight line, to
No.
get to that end or that position that you're aspiring to. And sometimes you've got to take a sideways move.
Sideways moves like a crab on a beach. Sideways, advance,
exactly like
sideways,
that.
advance, sideways.
Yes, because you're not going to
Yes.
get to those very senior roles unless you've really got experience with every market segment and every
Yes.
distribution channel. So it's not a straight line, but and one that takes a while, you know. So it's, don't expect to just achieve it in a few years, but wouldn't have swapped anything for the world.
No, that's so true. In fact, I remember when the Central Reservation Services manager and I, and a company you and I both worked for, were hiring to start this, you know, we used to call it call centers in those days, but then we evolved to calling it a contact center. And we would hire hotel school students. And I
Yes.
remember this one particular hotel school student. I won't name him, but he's still in the industry and he's done very well for himself. But he'd been in the industry literally about 5 minutes, right? He just
Hmm.
finished hotel school. And this was going to be his first job in the industry working for us in the call center. And he came to us about a week after he'd been in the role with his headset, taking calls for hotels, making bookings, and asked about how soon he could be in a hotel general manager role.
Oh, dear me.
Okay, first of all, love your ambition, love your
Yes.
enthusiasm. That will serve you well. Now go sit down, put your headset back on,
Yeah.
listen and learn, and increase your call conversion, and then we'll talk.
Love it. Love it. You've got to love ambition, right? You don't want to
Yes.
dampen these spirits, but
No, it's so important.
it is wonderful, but it's a long journey. And unfortunately, we've also both, you and I, have seen people put into those roles that aren't quite ready, and it's not fair on them
Yes.
or the
This
team in
sets
the
them up to
company.
fail.
It does, yes. And I've
Sets
actually
them
even
up to
seen
fail.
some people actually leave the industry because, you know, it affected them so badly. So if any young ones out there listening, stay the course. Learn what you
Yes.
can, and
Yes.
from multiple people. If you find a general manager that you get on extremely well with, that's wonderful. But you
Yes.
need to learn the strengths and the weaknesses from multiple people to become a
Yes.
well-rounded senior executive, right?
Yes. And finding a good mentor and someone
Yes.
that will disagree with you and teach you and support
Yes.
you. Yeah, gosh, yes, absolutely. I love that. So let's talk about some industry insights that you might have, because you have a lot. So thinking about the guests now, after working in luxury safari and tropical paradise and ski resorts and all of these different kinds of destinations and segments. What's the one guest or client complaint that's universal?
Oh, well, from a sales perspective, you can guess it, Shannon. Rate. It's too expensive, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And that, you get that whether you're working in a 3-star hotel
Yes.
to a luxury resort. And again, because it's all relative. So the rates game is always the problem. And as long as a guest cannot equate the value to the price they're being charged, that will continue to be an issue.
Yes.
So for me, the key with teaching the sales teams the correct way to sell is that beautiful old equation: value. Value equals benefit minus cost, right? So show the benefit of why they're paying this price.
Yes.
And they will be able to understand it. But that's why salespeople can also be deemed a little bit grumpy or temperamental or emotional, because when operations don't deliver what we've promised, that can become a challenge. But as long as, you know, again, those robust conversations are dealt with in a respectful manner, there's no reason you can't have that conversation. But no, the rate is always the issue, Shannon, always.
I'm just curious, Tracy, if you think that skill that I have observed that you have in being able to keep a straight face and set that example for your staff to be able to do the same thing when you're managing a client or a guest's unrealistic expectations in terms of price. Is that a skill that you were born with? Is it just inherent, or can it be taught?
It can be taught, and it was taught to me. Luckily, for a number of the hotel chains I worked for, you know, service recovery, diffusing stressful client situations. All of these trainings are absolutely vital. And while we don't follow the old adage, the guest is always right, the guest is always a guest.
Yes.
And so by default, he is right.
Yes.
More often than not, a little bit unreasonable. But if the guest feels that they are being heard, you will totally diffuse the situation. And
Yes.
it is very difficult to stand there, like any ops person will attest, and being screamed at or spoken to in a unsatisfactory manner. But, that's the best way to diffuse the situation is to just remain calm and
Yes.
make them feel heard. To be honest, the way you diffuse it the most out of sales is if you go away and do what you say you're going to do. I will go and find that out for you, sir, and I'll come straight back.
And following through and actually doing it.
100%. Yes.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
the
Not just to get out of the conversation, but actually doing it.
Exactly. It is a skill. And it's a vital one in our industry, in any service industry, actually, or any industry which deals with, public-facing, front-facing, public-facing positions like that. You definitely need to be taught how to manage those situations, because other than that, it can be a very stressful situation for the staff member as well, if they don't know how to handle it. But I can tell you, Shannon, the higher the rate that the guest pays, the higher their expectations.
Absolutely right.
That's even more vital in a luxury environment, right?
I suppose so, because not only is the expectation driven by the fact that it might be something that customer, that guest has been dreaming about for a long time. Perhaps they've been saving for a long time. So it's built up in their mind. And so there's that, imagination that's been built up, but also because, it is a bit more of an investment.
It is. But the interesting fact with hotel complaints is that most of the time the traveler had woke up and something happened in the morning before they even got to the property, right?
Yes.
They either had they almost missed their flight, or something happened and that just set the tone for the day. And
Yes.
then unfortunately you're on the receiving end of the person checking into the room and maybe the aircon's not working.
Yes.
So more often than not, they've got this sort of frame of mind before they even arrive at the property. But, we work in a dynamic industry, and many, many, many things can go wrong because there's so many moving parts in a hotel. So the only thing I can say to the listeners, and especially those who have to put up with this type of behavior, is that it's not personal. People, it's definitely not personal. It's not aimed at you as a person. You are just receiving the message.
So important.
So if you can just retain that when, you're having this very unproductive conversation, or somebody is very tense or irate, it's not personal. It's not aimed at you as a person.
Oh, that's such wise words of wisdom. And it sounds so simple. But, I think as hoteliers, especially when you're in a lobby and face to face, real time with, guests, it's such an important thing to remember. And I mean, when I still worked on site in hotels, I always used to really get this kind of sick, twisted pleasure out of turning around a guest experience.
I know.
And it was sort of my thing. If there was ever a guest that was really furious or really obnoxious or terribly misbehaved, or maybe we as the hoteliers had done something really wrong to give them a bad experience, or like what you described, they just had something in their life that put them in a sour mood before they even got there.
Go right.
And they've arrived. Yeah. And they're sour, they're angry, they're a hideous person, whatever. I was the person that was sent into the trenches to deal with that person, because I sort of grew this sort of reputation for being the one that would not only be able to turn them around, but kind of get a kick out of being able to turn them around and turn them into not only a guest that hated our guts and was going to write a terrible review and complain to the owner, but someone who loved us and was going to be a customer for life and write the best review ever. And I used to love that journey of turning them around. And I always got this kind of twisted joy out of, going and talking with a guest that was really furious. I'm so sorry that's been your experience today. Tell me more about that.
Yes. And they do. And that again is testament to your interactions with people, Shannon. So, good on you. But it's a lifelong skill as well, Shannon.
Yes.
You can use
And
it
I'm
in
always
your
improving it.
personal capacity, it doesn't have to just be at work. It can get you by in a lot of situations. So I'm very grateful to have been taught that, all those training sessions.
Well, and now, at the Wisdom Well, you're dispensing that wisdom yourself.
Yes.
And I wonder, did you just get tired of other people's marketing budgets, or like what was the trigger that made you take the entrepreneurial plunge?
That's an interesting question. It's not something I initially chose myself. So I was kind of pushed into it. And when it came down,
so the universe decided for you.
The universe decided for me, but I think that was a lot of me putting that message out to the universe was that, I wish I could be the master of my own destiny and, be accountable just for myself. And voila, it happened, right?
And so it began.
And so it did begin. But I think, it's incredibly satisfying as well. It's terrifying, but it's incredibly satisfying at the same time. I sat there and thinking, okay, what's next? There's a lack of talent in the industry, and certainly post-COVID, a lot of people have left the industry. So there's no shortage of work. But it was just like, okay, well, what's my next part? Kind of been there, done that now. So what else can I do? And I thought this was a really neat way for me to take the aspects of the job that I really loved doing and bottling that up and selling that to companies or hotels that don't have that skill set available in their staff complement, or even to work as an extension of their team. So it's an interesting concept. I didn't call it my name because my name is quite well known in the industry in New Zealand here.
Yes.
But there's also...
That's a commodity in and of itself.
I can't understand why you didn't use, Tracy Martin or whatever. And there's actually a politician with the exact same name in New Zealand.
Really?
Yes, I thought, oh, well, if people are Googling me or looking for my company, because they're in the public eye, it would automatically redirect to their name. And so I had to think about it long and hard. And I thought, well, I have really obtained like 3 decades of wisdom. And really, for a client, how deep do they want to go? Do they want the whole big kahuna, or do they just want a little bit of it? So the Wisdom Well was born.
I love that. I love that. Absolutely perfect. And so for the hotelier listening out there who might have been in the industry for 5 minutes or 5 years or however long, who's dreaming of going solo, but maybe terrified of giving up their corporate safety net and giving up their regular paycheck. You mentioned a paycheck earlier. So they might be, dreaming of going solo, but they're just still a little bit terrified. What is your don't quit your day job until ... advice? And be honest, if how many sleepless nights did you have when you started going out on your own in the first month? Be honest.
I actually had a lot, but not for the reason you think.
Okay.
It's interesting. I work at a very fast pace, and can you imagine, Shannon, the realization that people don't work at the same pace as me? So I had a lot of opportunities out in the market, but I needed to land, the actual clients and the jobs. And I was, because I'm an action and response person coming from sales, I was
Yes.
getting incredibly frustrated that people just didn't come back to me in 24 hours, which is very unrealistic, let's be honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my biggest lesson to date was learning some patience. And
Interesting.
I'm not a patient person, so I had quite a few sleepless nights in the first month, not for lack of opportunity, and
No.
not for lack of business out there to, be able to sign up, but to hone my own skills a bit more.
Yes.
and
Yes.
and to realize that people, it's not going to happen in 24 hours. So I did have quite a few sleepless nights. I've become much better at it, but I've still got a way to go. Yes, but it is terrifying. If you've been in the industry 5 minutes, please don't give up your day job.
Yes. Yes.
Sorry for those.
Very good advice.
Yes, you need to learn, and you need to learn a lot more from a lot more people and a lot more companies
Yes.
and a lot more hotels. So it would be wonderful if we could all just go out into the world and be successful. But if you want to be in this industry as a consultant, you've got to have the know-how. That's the first thing.
Yes.
The second thing is you've got to have a good network,
Yes.
because you're going to have to work that network, right? And
Yes.
of course, thirdly, you've got to have you've got to have raised your profile in the industry. So you've got to have that your own brand, and your reputation has to be sound. But it's
Yes.
never a good time for anybody, because you will always keep putting it off because of the lure of the paycheck, right?
Yes. Yes.
So as terrifying as it is to not have the security of that paycheck every week, that's actually what motivates you into action.
That's right.
So
Yes.
if you're not
I
an
love
action
that.
and response person, maybe not the best course of action for you. And, you've got to be very disciplined. You've got to get up every day and make sure you're on the phones and working your network. And you actually have to deliver, like you all know, Shannon, you actually have to deliver an even better quality of work, because you're only as good as your last job.
So true. That's so
Yeah.
true. I know a lot of general managers who, their mantra is you're only as good as your last P&L, profit and loss statement. And it's the same with consulting or in sales. You're
Correct.
only as good as your very last gig.
Yes, 100%. So if you're in a position where you kind of, have learned your craft, that you are equipped to now go out into the world and sell your services to hotels and properties that could use your skill set, by all means, give it a bash. I always say to everybody, a job's not a lifelong sentence, right? And if it didn't work, you can go back. But if it does
That's
work,
right.
imagine, right? But it's also, you will know this, it's not for everybody. I mean, the thing that I miss the most is that team environment coming from sales and marketing, where we all feed off each other's energy and we bounce ideas all the time. And together as a team, we collectively come up with, tacticals and move the dial for the business. It's quite difficult when you're operating on your own.
Yes.
And when you're working with clients, but you're not an FTE, you're not a full-time employee. So it's still not your team, although, you're part of their team. So again, though, everything in life is attitude and how you approach something. So I've always been a very glass half full person, and
You have. I know that to be true. Absolutely.
yeah. So give it a bash. You've got literally nothing to lose. Nothing to lose.
I love that too, because I do very much enjoy, again, the luxury of being solo. When I first started Snap Consulting, I had a few contractors and I even dabbled in having employees that I would, dispatch out or farm out to my clients. And what happened was it happened 3 times in a row over the course of about a year and a half. I would, farm out one of my Snap Consulting employees or a contractor to a client. And they
Right.
did such a good job, either in their distribution management or their yield or their forecasting, that the client offered them a full-time job and hired
Snap
them.
them up.
I mean, it was great because I'm glad they saw Snap Consulting as providing them with a really good resource, and I'm glad they were happy with the work. But it was like,
But
again,
you're not in
I'm glad
recruitment, Shannon.
I'm not in recruitment. That's not my shtick. I'm not a recruiter. So I just thought, no, I'm just gonna, be a one-person band.
Solo.
But
Yeah.
I
Fly
do,
solo.
yeah. But to your point, as much as I enjoy that, I still enjoy it even more when now I do get out amongst it. And when I do client work, I enjoy being in the hotel atmosphere
Yes.
for a few hours or a few days if I'm working on a project. I really like being out in the trenches and being in the reservations office or being
Yeah.
behind the front desk or in a chaotic, messy lobby or being in a tech company and being in amongst the engineers and not understanding much of a word they're saying, but I'm learning something. So I really enjoy that being out amongst
Yeah.
it even more now,
True.
because it's not the majority anymore. So
That's
I
right.
don't miss the drudge, but I enjoy the luxury of being out amongst it sporadically.
Yeah, and you create your team, right? I mean, you and I
Yes.
connect, and I connect with a couple of people who have done a similar thing to me, and we form our own little club. I mean, we should start doing Employee of the Month award, Shannon, between yourself and myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're right.
Yes.
There's something to be said for being the buck stops with you, and being the master of your own destiny and totally in control. So I think that outweighs any other negative aspects. Who knows, though? I mean, if a 1 in a million job came along, I would probably have to consider it. But for now, I'm extremely happy, and
Yeah.
I work with amazing clients. And the thing about you and me is we never lose the contacts with the people we worked with, the people that mean something to you, right? So
Yes.
they're always there. It's just that they're not part of your team anymore. So I just continue to connect with them.
Yes.
Yeah, and you just create your own environment. But you're right. When I do go back into a hotel, I just love it. I mean, in the thick of it, and it's chaotic, and it's
Yes.
wonderful. But
Yes.
I come back to the serenity of the wisdom well.
Ah, yes.
Yes. Yeah.
So, closing question before I let you go off to your Auckland, New Zealand day. A final toast. If you are raising a glass to celebrate hoteliers everywhere, what would your toast be?
May you have the strength to get through the day.
I love that.
because
I love
because
that.
you can never plan a day in a hotel, can you? So it's just coming
Nope.
at you from all sides, especially if you're a general manager. That's the word for the audience. General manager, right? They're managing everything.
Generally.
Generally.
Yes.
Yes. So they're
Yes.
literally getting everything on their desk or comes to them. So yes, just have the strength to get through the day, because some days are a lot more challenging than others. But gosh, you just can't find a better industry that gives a sense of satisfaction at the end. When you clock off and out the door you go. Gosh,
So true.
because you've you've really you've touched so many people's lives in that day. People from different
Yes.
walks of life, from different places around the world.
Yes.
And you've made some part of their day better. So cheers to the general managers, because they have a tough job, and
Yes.
yeah, good on them.
And it's the, physical muscular strength, to be on your feet all day, because
All
I think a
day.
lot of people don't realize, even people that are in hotel tech who are
Yes.
more desk bound and, building products or marketing for hotels that
Yes.
aren't on their feet all day, that when they're desk bound, they don't really appreciate the physical agility and strength required to be a GM, a front desk manager, a DM, a duty manager, a housekeeper who's on your feet, and it's physically really demanding. So you need that physical strength, but then also the mental strength and the emotional strength.
Correct.
So
Correct.
all kinds of strength is what's needed as a hotelier, isn't it? Just to not just
100%.
get through a day, but to be successful and enjoy it. I
And
think
don't forget, you've always got to
the
have that smile, right? Yeah. whether it's to the staff or to the guest, you've always got to
Yes.
have that smile on your face, and when you really don't feel like doing it sometimes. So it's a tough job, but I've worked for some amazing GMs who've taught me
Yes.
incredible things.
Me
And
too.
they're a special breed. They really are.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Tracy Martin, for joining the Hotelier Huddle podcast today. I've really appreciated your well of wisdom, And I'll leave you to your New Zealand day.
Thank you. It was lovely seeing you again, and I'll chat to you soon.